Hello and welcome to TVB News. Chief Executive Designate John Lee's lineup of principal officials is beginning to take shape. Paul Chan and Michael Wong are believed to be among those staying for another term.
3 women are expected to become policy secretaries as the next governing team is set to take the oath of office in about 2 weeks. Sharon Tang has the story.
About a month ago, John Lee said he will pick his governing team based on experience, abilities, and political aspirations. Now his team is taking shape. Sources say among the incumbent top 3 officials, Chief Secretary for Administration, Financial Secretary and Justice Secretary, only Financial Secretary Paul Chan will stay. The incumbent Secretary for Development Michael Wong is tipped to become Chan's deputy, a new post in the incoming government. Eric Chan is believed to be taking up the SAR administration's number 2 post, Chief Secretary for Administration. His current post, Director of the Chief Executive's Office, will likely go to Carol Yip, currently Deputy Secretary for Security. Retired Administrative Officer Warner Chuk, meanwhile, is set to take up the post of Deputy Chief Secretary for Administration. Sources say the current chairman of the Consumer Council, Paul Lam, will be the next Secretary for Justice. He is a former chairman of the Bar Association. DAB lawmaker Horace Chung could be the Deputy Justice Secretary. As for the heads of the 15 policy bureaus, at least 3 of them will be women. They include lawmaker Alice Mack, who is believed to become Secretary for Home and Youth Affairs. Sources say 4 current policy secretaries, including Chris Tang and Eric Tsang, will likely remain in their posts. The current Education Chief Kevin Yeung could become Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism. The Transport and Housing Bureau will be split into 2 bureaus. Winnie Ho is tipped to be the Housing Secretary, while Lam Sai-hung will likely head the Transport and Logistics Bureau. Bernadette Lin could be the next Secretary for Development, and Ingrid Yeung is likely to head the Civil Service Bureau. Commissioner for Labour Chris Sun could be the next Secretary for Labour and Welfare. Chief Executive of the Hong Kong U Shenzhen Hospital, Professor Lo Chung Mao, is likely to head the Health Bureau. Still, John Lee must submit these nominations to the central government before the appointments are confirmed. According to previous practice, the Chief Executive Designate and his governing team would meet the press before taking office. Sharon Tang, TVB News.
COVID infections breached the 1,000 mark for a second day running. And today, case counts of new local infections, too, climbed to the 4-digit level for the first time in almost 2 months.
A new measure requiring patrons to show their negative RATs before entering the city's nightlife hotspots is now in force. Jackie Lin with more.
In addition to more than 90 imported infections, Hong Kong reported 1,085 new local cases. That marks the first time the local COVID tally surpassed the 1,000 mark since April. Among the 113 infections reported from schools are 3 cases from Class K1 and A at Canaan Kindergarten Charming Garden in Mong Kok. Authorities found an earlier infected teacher taught the 3 students' class. A close contact of a 17-year-old patient from Pui Ching Middle School also came down with the virus. The residential home cluster at the Christian Family Service Center Sheung Chun House continues to grow. 2 more residents there contracted the virus. Also infected is a carer who helped send infected senior residents to the Asia World Expo quarantine facility. Rack City Bar in Sheung Wan and FLM Bar in Central each detected 1 more case. Altogether, nearly 60 cases arose from the 2 night spots. Authorities expect the uptick in cases to continue.
When we are returning to normalcy, expect the trend to continue for some time. However, we certainly do not want to see an exponential growth. The number is still lower than the peak in the 5th wave.
To contain outbreaks linked to the city's nightlife hotspots, patrons to bars, pubs and clubs now have to show proof of a negative result from a rapid antigen test taken within 24 hours before entering these premises. This bar operator expects turnover to plummet by 30 to 50% because not every customer is willing to comply with the measure. For customers who forgot to do the test, some bars also set up a test zone for people to screen themselves on the spot. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
Residents choosing the Octopus card to collect their government consumption vouchers can receive the remaining $1,000 today at the earliest. To collect the latest installment, citizens who obtained the first round of consumer vouchers in early April must spend at least $4,000 by the end of May. If they meet the requirement, they can get the remaining $1,000 through their Octopus app, public transport subsidy collection stations, designated supermarkets, and convenience stores. Another batch of consumption vouchers worth $5,000 will be available in August. WeChat Pay is encouraging its users to use the digital platform to collect their vouchers by introducing various prizes and offers.
Overseas, in the U.S. Federal Reserve has raised interest rates 0.75%, with a stated target of now getting the federal funds rate to 3.4% by year end. Wall Street rallied on the comments from Fed Chair Jerome Powell that future rate rises may be more modest.
However, world stocks fell on Thursday as his remarks were among the most sobering yet about the challenge faced in getting inflation down to 2%. Matthew Bray reports.
Clearly, today's 75 basis point increase is an unusually large one, and I do not expect moves of this size to be common. Our overarching focus is using our tools to bring inflation back down to our 2% goal and to keep longer-term inflation expectations well anchored.
The interest rate hike is the largest since 1994, but the Fed remains fundamentally challenged by calling inflation transitory for so long. As a result, the Fed is now admitting it is willing to let unemployment rise and risk a recession in order to get inflation down.
Then you're looking at next year, and what you're seeing is people see a bit more tightening in a range of maybe 3.5% to 4%. And that's generally what people see as the appropriate path for getting inflation under control.
Inflation is running hot at 8.6% in the US and barreling higher in many other countries. According to Powell, another 0.75% move higher is possible at the next Fed meeting in late July. He added that the Fed wasn't trying to induce a recession for now. Analysts tend to think differently.
The reality of it is, with inflation at a 40-year high and interest rates that were at record lows, a recession may be the price we have to pay to get inflation under control.
Each rate hike means higher borrowing costs for consumers and businesses. The Fed hasn't managed to engineer a soft landing since the mid-1990s. Any further inflation prints to the upside could well see the Fed having to go even harder in its effort to control prices. There is a template for that. Under Paul Volcker in the early 1980s, the Fed's benchmark rate increased sharply and unexpectedly, up to 4 percentage points at a time. Matthew Bray, TVB News.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, the face of America's pandemic response through 2 White House administrations, has tested positive for the coronavirus. The 81-year-old, who is fully vaccinated and has received 2 booster shots, has mild COVID-19 symptoms, according to his office. He will return to work when he tests negative. Fauci has not recently been in close contact with U.S. President Joe Biden or other senior government officials. He tested positive on a rapid antigen test. Fauci is Biden's chief medical advisor and director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. He was a leading member of the White House coronavirus task force under former President Donald Trump. Advisors to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration have unanimously recommended the agency authorize COVID-19 vaccines for millions of the youngest American children. The committee's recommendation is an important step towards immunizing children under the age of 5 and as young as 6 months old who have not yet been eligible for the shots. The FDA is likely to authorize the shots for Moderna and Pfizer-BioNTech soon. A White House COVID-19 response coordinator said the U.S. government is planning for a June 21st start to its under 5 vaccination campaign should the vaccines receive FDA authorization. Once the FDA authorizes the vaccines for the age group, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention will make recommendations on the use of the shots in young children. A fisherman has apparently confessed to the killing of a British journalist and an indigenous expert in Brazil's remote Amazon. Federal police say they expected to make further arrests over the murders of Dom Phillips and Bruno Pereira. The bodies were found in dense rainforest. The arrested man, a 41-year-old nicknamed Pelado, allegedly told officers he used a gun to kill the pair, but his family claimed he was tortured to extract a confession. The two men killed were on a reporting trip in a jungle area bordering Peru and Colombia. Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro had criticized the British journalist, saying he should have been more careful in the region. The area is rife with drug smuggling, poachers, and illegal logging, fishing, and mining.
Welcome back to TVB News. The leaders of Germany, France, and Italy rode together into Kyiv on a train today in a joint demonstration of support for Ukraine. It's the highest profile visit to Ukraine's capital since Russia invaded its neighbor.
The visit by the three most powerful EU leaders, as well as the president of Romania, comes at a pivotal moment as Ukrainian officials plead for more and faster deliveries of Western arms to hold off Russia's assault. The visit by Emmanuel Macron, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, and Italian Prime Minister Mario Draghi took weeks to organize.
Présent, concentré, et va retrouver le président Zelensky.
It's an important moment, Macron said after his arrival. It's a message of European unity toward Ukrainians. He added they will speak with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky about both the present and the future.
Just an ordinary car.
Macron denounced the barbarism of the attacks that devastated a Kyiv suburb. The men toured together. He also praised the courage of residents who held back Russian forces from attacking the capital. The high-profile visits come a day before the European Union's Executive Commission is expected to recommend pushing forward with Ukraine's bid to join the bloc. EU leaders are expected to endorse candidacy at a summit next week. The biggest Western European powers have faced criticism for not providing Ukraine with the scale of weaponry officials have been begging them for. Today, defense ministers are meeting in Brussels to weigh more military aid for Ukraine amid a warning from the NATO chief that they face the gravest security threat in decades.
But we need to do even more to keep our people safe now and in the years to come.
The U.S. and Germany have announced more aid as America and its allies provide longer-range weapons they say can make a difference in a fight where Ukrainian forces are outnumbered and outgunned. The German defense minister said the training of Ukrainian soldiers on the advanced weapons will soon be completed, adding she expects the systems to have a swift and significant battlefield impact. Meanwhile, Russia-backed forces said today they will reopen a humanitarian corridor for civilians to leave a chemical plant in the battered eastern Ukrainian city of Severodonetsk. Hundreds of civilians are believed to be sheltering at the site.
The Competition Commission has initiated legal proceedings against Analog Holdings and Shunhing Engineering Contracting Company. Analog Holdings is chaired by Otto Poon, the husband of Secretary for Justice Teresa Cheng. The two companies were accused of price fixing, mark sharing, and bid rigging. The competition watchdog alleged that two senior engineers at Analog and a senior manager at Shunhing communicated frequently between 2015 and 2019. They were accused of sharing commercially sensitive information about their bidding price, which in turn impacted their bidding terms of air conditioning works worth some $2 billion. The Competition Commission believes such conduct amounted to serious anti-competitive behavior. The commission added that as air conditioning is a daily necessity, the cartel has affected many households. It's seeking the Competition Tribunal to impose penalties on the companies.
A research team at the Chinese university has revealed the DNA evolution process of dust mites. Parasites cause major allergies by hiding in items including bed sheets and milk powder, and the team is hoping to use their discovery to find a solution. The team found that mites have evolved from feeding on the oil secretion of mammals to infesting stored foods, especially powdery items such as milk powder and flour. CUHK is using the newfound genome analysis of the dust mites to develop chemicals to remove the parasites, but as effective drugs are not yet available, the team suggests the public to take proactive measures. These include using HEPA filter vacuum cleaners at home and washing bed sheets with water above 60 degrees Celsius.
The city's largest transnational housing project held its completion ceremony today. Chief Executive Carrie Lam, who officiated the event, said the project proves the cooperation of the government, the business sector, and the community can help solve problems. Located in Tung Tau, Yuen Long, United Court will provide about 1,800 units for the underprivileged or those on the waiting list for public housing. The monthly rent will be about $2,300 to $4,950. So far, more than 1,000 units have been rented out. The project consists of 8 four-story residential blocks alongside a playground and a small farm for residents. There will also be job opportunities for them at the community's convenience store and hair salon.
Amid the pandemic, police mountain climbing rescue operations have more than tripled in the past 2 years.
The force is now looking into using new technology to better coordinate and speed up the rescue process. Timothy Lee has more.
我哋會兵分兩路，包括由西貢鄉村巡邏隊嘅同事會負責藍色同埋紅色嘅路線。
Teaming up with the Civil Aid Service and the Government Flying Service, police officers were conducting a joint search and rescue exercise. The simulation involves a citizen going missing after an argument with his family. Using the last contact information between the missing man and his relatives, the team began their search on Tai Tun Shan and Sai Kung. With more people going hiking during the epidemic, accidents are more likely to occur. Last year, the police conducted a total of 951 mountain climbing rescue operations, more than 3 times the number from 2 years ago. To raise the effectiveness of rescue missions, the Information Systems Wing of the police developed a number of technological devices, such as the smart watch, which can geolocate its user as well as monitor the number of steps he's taking and his heartbeat in real time. Another device is a camera that can transmit real-time footage in 4K quality back to the command center using 4G or 5G. A digital map has also been developed to allow the command center to better understand the terrain, environment, and location of rescue personnel. The 3 devices cost several $1 million, and authorities aim to use the technology to reduce mistakes during operations. Quan Trey Ching, Assistant Commissioner of Police in charge of the Information Systems Wing, said the new equipment allows a better understanding of the rescue area, enabling a more efficient distribution of manpower and saving more lives. The 3 devices are still in their testing phase, and the police will determine if more frontline personnel will use the technology based on their effectiveness. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching.
Good night.